All right, let's get this show on the road because it is already pretty late tonight, and not doing you or me any favors by going slowly. Today's Inktober prompt was Breakable. That basically made me think of the movie Unbreakable, and so I'm basically drawing sort of something kind of simple, maybe a little more artsy fartsy, like you'd do for a cover or something than you might do for like a full illustration of a character. But some of that is just it's very late, and I'm gonna sort of try to not make this stream quite as long as some others, and we'll just sort of see how that plays out. And hope the best. Try to still do something good. Yeah. But it's late, and I've still got to edit this week's comic tropes. How's it going, Chris? Let's see. Hello to Philip Flores and Spider Boy. Hello, Voodoo Zombie. Yeah, day's going fine. Not the most exciting. It's been a long day, but getting through it. Home from work. Just kind of wanna bang today's illustration out. The idea in my head is not 100% formed, so we'll see if it ends up being anything. But I got a loose idea going on in my head right now. And then I'll finish editing the next comic tropes and get that uploaded. Let's see, as I'm doing this, it's almost 10 o'clock my time, which means it's already the next day for East Coasters or anybody over in like Europe or that. So yeah, a new day is starting. Hello JP, hello Nipper, and let's see, actually made it at the beginning of your live stream this time. You sure did, Philip. So anyway, well, thanks for jumping in, folks. That's exciting. Always nice to have a good group of folks here. So yeah, I was thinking of the movie Unbreakable with Mr. Glass and David Dunn. Just really doing more of almost a silhouette of David Dunn. I don't want him to necessarily dominate this piece, but at the same time he is sort of a focus, I guess. So we'll see where that leads. One cool thing about streaming this late is we're definitely not going to hear any screaming kids at the school playground across the street. I think it's just a little too late to expect any of the wee little ones to be running about, screaming and shouting and all that good stuff. Alright, Sam Jackson is the man. No question about that, Seahots. See, Voodoo Zombie says it's 7 a.m. here, so I guess I'm from the future. Where is Sarah Connor? I love it. 3:20 p.m. for Nipper. That's in Australia. Let's see. It's like 12 for me, and I live in South Carolina. Are you sure that it's 12? Isn't it 1? Anyway. Chris hates the sound of children having fun. Yeah, exactly. It's the specific idea of them having fun that bothers me so much. I'm like, no, don't let them have any fun. It's like poison to my ears. Ooh, it is starting to finally get kind of cold. I would say today was pretty cold. I have to turn on the heat in the house, I think. We're at that stage. The sweatshirt isn't quite doing it. I'm going to have to like start a fire, and I don't have much near me, so I'm just going to ask my computer, what is love? It'll start sparking, and I can warm myself by the burning computer. I asked the computer to define love. Breaking news, man. Oh, no, excuse me, I'm reading this wrong. There's a comma. Let's respect the comma. Breaking news. Man dressed as Uatu yells at kids. I don't have my bald cap. That's elsewhere right now. But thank you. Yeah, you know what? I should switch brushes. That one's way too thick. Today, for whatever reason, I just could not stop daydreaming about going back to Japan. I was just in the mood. I was just like, boy, you know, I just wish I could be there right now. I want to visit some new places, but boy, have I had some fantastic trips to Japan. I would really love to return. Again. But I also daydreamed a little of doing a trip to Australia and New Zealand, so that would also be really amazing to get to do that. So I couldn't really find anything to pull this off, but I wanted to do this live stream today with some amazing bling and ice. I was like asking my fiance, I was like, what kind of jewelry do you have? And she just doesn't like have tons of jewelry, so she didn't really have a lot of options. But I love the idea of like starting this off going like, hey, thank you C Kim for last night's $140 super chat. That was awesome. And yeah, like I spent money well spent. I wanted to just have all sorts of ridiculous jewelry as though that's what I spent it on. But I wasn't able to do that, so I'm just describing the joke to you, which not as funny. Let's see. Brian A., you missed Judge Dredd. Well, they're all archived. It's not quite the same thing, but you're able to watch it. And let's see. Connor Woods is also joining us. Hello. Lovely to have so many of y'all tonight. Appreciate it. This is about as late as it can really go, isn't it? And still be done in the same day, but unfortunately, it's also the first opportunity I've had today to do anything for myself. It's been work all day. And can't do this at work, unfortunately. Or maybe it's fortunate. I probably shouldn't be doing something else at work. Anyway. I've got a good group of coworkers and bosses at the job. That's probably actually the best part of like the current job that I have. It's not necessarily anything I ever expected to be doing or dreamed of or anything, but you know what? I sincerely do. I like all my coworkers and all my bosses right now. I can't imagine having a personality conflict with any of them. And having worked at a number of different places at this point, like that's kind of special. That I've never really had a personality conflict per se, but you know, there's always going to be a few people that you don't like, I guess. Well, maybe not, but I guess I have had people that I'm not a big fan of, but it was never like anything that affected work or anything. It just sort of made me feel a little miserable. I was just like, ooh, this person. Ooh. But the one thing I'll say for the current job is there's no one like that. Which superhero has the best pet? Probably Superman with crypto, right? I mean, crypto's so loyal and super powered and all. Because you did say superhero, not supervillain. Who else is a good superhero with a super pet? Or just any pet? Superhero with a pet. Oh, you know what? I thought of another good one. Hawkeye with Pizza Dog. If you've ever read the Matt Fraction, Andrew Aja uh, Hawkeye series, he gets a stray dog that he names Pizza Dog because dog likes pizza, if I remember correctly. And there's even a whole issue dedicated to the dog's thoughts being expressed to us with sort of emojis. That's pretty awesome. That's a really good. That's a really good pet. Oh yeah, Connor Woods points out that Aquaman had a pet octopus that he called like Topo, or at least something like that. I think it was Topo. Pretty lame. Um, let's see. Hey, Chris. Let's see. Kazar has the best pet. I mean, that's a good one. Kazar has Sabu, is it? The saber-toothed tiger. I think it's Sabu is his name. Let's see. I feel like there was another question that I missed. Pulpo is Spanish for octopus. Let's see. Sweet Lime Juice says, can you talk about the Eternals? Yeah, I can talk a little bit about them. I wouldn't say that I'm the biggest expert, but I have read some of Jack Kirby's Eternals. And I've read also some of Neil Gaiman's Eternals. And Cersei was a supporting character in Avengers and I think a couple issues of Captain America by Mark Grunwald, if I'm remembering correctly. The Eternals. Well, they're essentially gods. They're sort of new gods. More like they're godlike in that they are eternal. They're immortal. And they each have sort of powers. They can fly, they're super strong, etc. And they were created by the Celestials, if I'm remembering correctly. The Celestials are space gods in the Marvel Universe, and they were sort of... I'm trying to remember everything right now. The Eternals were like an experiment based on like evolving humanity up to like godlike status. And at the same time, they also created deviance, which is sort of like a de-evolution of mankind. And the main one was like Ikari. And honestly, I wouldn't say that there's anything that exciting about them. The most interesting thing is that it's like, if you look at Jack Kirby's run on Thor, then his work on New Gods, and then his work on Eternals, it forms a very loose trilogy showing his idea of the gods, the old gods going through Ragnarok, being birthed as new gods, and sort of fighting a war, and the good guys surviving and trying to find their purpose in the universe. Sort of. That's a really loose interpretation, and I'd have to do a little bit of research to do a better, to just refresh my memory. But the Eternals just sort of like live quietly on like something along the lines of Mount Olympus, and just sort of try not to interfere in humanity, but like they're always watching over us, and so that's a little creepy. And I don't know, each of them have like slightly different superpowers, and they just, I think the biggest problem is that like I wouldn't say any of the Eternals have the most dynamic personalities. They're a little bit of an open book. Yeah, James Gleason has it right. Oh, Lion Cat. Lion Cat is a pretty great pet. Not exactly of a superhero, but kind of close. Pet of a bounty hunter with abilities. So let's hear it for Saga. Nice pull there. Anyway, Kamandi was my fave Kirby. Also Omak. Yeah, yeah. I definitely think that like in terms of things that Jack Kirby created, like all by himself, that the things he created at DC were stronger. Um, Kamandi, the Last Boy on Earth, Omak, and the New Gods are all pretty interesting stuff. And unfortunately, I don't really think the Eternals is all that interesting. I think that like what Jack Kirby did with his extended riff on the 2001 movie, going into like introducing the Celestials and Machine Man is a lot more interesting than anything he did with the Eternals. Yeah. The Celestials are pretty cool, if vague, concept. But I don't know. The Eternals never did a lot for me. So when like Marvel says that they're like going all in on them for like the next phase of movies, to me that like reminds me of Inhumans, which is like an idea that has been interpreted okay in comics a couple times. It's not an inherently bad idea, but it's also, I don't know, it, you sort of have your A-list superheroes. You've got most of the Avengers and the X-Men and Spider-Man. And then you sort of get into like B-list, which includes a bunch of the Avengers still. Like I would say like, Iron Man until his movie was definitely like a B-list character. And so was like, Nick Fury and Doctor Strange. Like they kept coming back, but they never had like long sustained runs, Like the more popular stuff was Fantastic Four, X-Men, Spider-Man, that kind of stuff. And then you sort of almost have like your C-level stuff like, and I know this will like offend people, but like I'm just talking in terms of like sales and recognition and stuff. Like you got your Cloak and Dagger. You might even count Moon Knight around there. And I'd certainly put Inhumans and Eternals like well below that, even though they came from Jack Kirby. That's just my opinion anyway. I think like, and that's more of like a historical look, not like a look at exactly where they are today. You never know. Maybe a writer will come in with some fantastic takes on the material. I can't think of an Eternals story that like is especially memorable off the top of my head. I'd have to like go back and reread some of the issues to find an Eternals story that's interesting. But anyway, I guess that's a lot of talk about the Eternals. I wonder how long before Marvel does a Killraven movie. Yeah, Killraven was like a sort of barbarian hero based on the War of the Worlds idea, like that like in the future, the Martians or whatever conquer Earth, and Killraven is this barbarian that fights back against them. And supposedly it takes place in a potential future of the Marvel Universe. That's the only element of it that makes it kind of unique. I think Killraven's more interesting than the Eternals. I think Rom, Space Knight, and the Micronauts are more interesting than the Eternals. The Eternals might rank slightly higher than Power Pack for me, but not much else. What are you drawing, Chris? Nothing too exciting, Sigamigs. It's, yeah, okay, James DeRosa explains, characters from Unbreakable. Today's prompt was Breakable. This is David Dunn, that's Bruce Willis's character. He's basically just really strong and has like an amazing autoimmune system, and he just runs around in a poncho. He also may sort of be able to loosely predict when there's trouble. And then there's a guy named Mr. Glass that's just essentially like really, really smart, but his bones are incredibly brittle and they're constantly breaking. And he just sort of had the idea that, Well, you know what? I'm not going to give it all away. If you haven't seen Unbreakable, I won't describe too much about the rest of it. But I sort of recommend seeing it now because M. Night Shyamalan, the director of this, just did Split fairly recently, and he's got a sequel to those two movies called Glass, and it'll involve characters. He's sort of created his own little superhero universe. Kirby borrowed ideas from Killraven for the animated series Thundar the Barbarian. That does sound. That sounds right. I didn't know that, but that sounds right. Thundar the Barbarian. All right, I'm just tired. It's similar. Yeah, I would say Unbreakable is pretty great. Like there was definitely like an extended period of time where I kept going like, well I didn't really like Signs or the Woods or The Village, but Sixth Sense and Unbreakable were good. I definitely liked those, so I must just not be getting something. But no, M. Night Shyamalan definitely put out some crappy movies too. But I did like Split. I thought that one was pretty good, and it was nice to sort of see a return to form after a little while. I like Unbreakable. It's an interesting sort of grounded take on the idea of superheroes. Oh, this smudges too much. Forget that. I have a decent idea for the Eternals. Do you have any comic ideas? I have lots. Some of them I've written out. I've probably written out about like 4 ideas that I'd love to pitch, but gotta wait until I've got like some money so that I can hire an artist to illustrate the pages that I pitch. Because I'm not just gonna ask them to work for free. That's just not how I roll. I'd want to find a really amazing artist, and I'd want to pay them a fair rate. I've done it before. I've had things accepted before, and then just took too long, and basically the deal fell through. I think I've had that twice at Image. I see that there were a question or two in the chat room, so I'm gonna definitely take a close look at that in a moment. Let's see what we got there. What are they? Why don't you illustrate? I don't necessarily think that my style is right, and I don't necessarily think I'm fast enough to make it happen. Those are the 2 big reasons. Why don't you can do a Kickstarter or something? Maybe I could. The way I'd want to do it is very by the books. I'd find an artist whose style to me looks right for the project. I would pay them to illustrate about 5 or 6 pages, and I'd pitch those. And if it didn't get picked up by the publishers that I submitted it to, then I might contact the artist and say like, hey, what if we got the funding through Kickstarter? Are you still down? And do that. But Kickstarter would probably be my second choice after like, just finding a publisher. Because I would really want to get like distribution into comic book stores a little more easily than having to do it all myself. And so that's where the infrastructure of an Image or an IDW or a Dark Horse or an Oni, etc., 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 comes into play. That's where that comes in. Hey, C. Kim. Thank you so much for coming back. I bought $140 worth of chimichangas while you were gone. Why are you up so late drawing? Because I've been working all day. This is the first time I've had any time to myself today. I work till 9, then it takes a little time to get home. Takes a little time to eat. Gotta eat or I'll definitely crash. And as soon as I finish this illustration, I gotta roll into wrapping up my editing on the next comic trope. Still have not finished editing for this week. So, that's why, in brief, I'm drawing so late. Hope that makes sense. Let's see. All Lucky 7 says, what are your top 5 comic book artists ever? Not necessarily in order. Holy shit. Excuse my language, but C. Kim just dropped $70 super chat. Wow. That's insane. That is overly generous. I will definitely be able to get the mic at this point because I'm also earning a little extra money, C. Kim. I've decided to sell a bunch of these past, illustrations on my social media. I offered it first to like family and friends, and a bunch of people bought them. So I'm going to be able to buy myself a new pair of shoes and a few things for like the show in terms of like, a microphone and stuff. Thanks in massive part to your donation. Oh, wow. Sweet lime juice. That's so nice. By the way, that's a really cool name, but that makes me really thirsty. I like lime. Wow. I might have the best viewers out there. You guys touches me. Thank you. Thank you so much. It will benefit the show. It will benefit the show. Let's see. That's nice, Voodoo Zombie and C. Kim, but you know what? They might be claimed. I have to check. I didn't expect a response, and I opened it up on Facebook to my family and friends, and a bunch of them got grabbed really quickly. People said, like, I want this one, I want that one. So, like, I feel like I sort of gave people first dibs, more or less. And so let me double check. But I've got a mental note. That's very exciting to know that there are people interested in these. But you've said that before you even know how much. Yeah, somebody claimed Storm before I even actually offered them up for sale. That's what made me think, like, oh, maybe I should sell these after all. So I'm selling them all for like $50. So $50 each, in other words. Yeah, Storm went quickly. Storm apparently was one of my better ones, which is interesting to sort of note, like what connects with people that I've done. So anyway, do you have an Instagram page? I do. It's under Chris Piers, I believe. I'm pretty sure. You'll give me a meatball sandwich for Pinhead. Well, I am pretty hungry. No. No deal. No deal. I'm going to hold out for 2 meatball sandwiches. I know what I'm worth. I'm going to hold out. let's see. Oh, top 5 comic book artists. That's right. I think that got asked just as C. Kim gave that really generous super chat. No, I'm not in Europe. I have been, but I am not in Europe. Sorry. I'm in America. Top 5 artists. I would say... Let me think for a second. That's a good challenging question. I would say Naoki Urasawa is one. I'll buy any comic that Naoki Urasawa does. Tony Moore is a constant inspiration as just somebody that I know that I also think is absurdly talented. I really like Alex Toth. I think that he's pretty amazing. I think Will Eisner is really amazing. And then Mike Mignola is another personal favorite. So for now, those are my top 5. But you know what? You ask me in a week and it could be different. Tetsuo in color. Yeah, maybe I could do that for you, C. Kim. I feel like I do owe you. Oh, some interesting choices here. Folks are saying things like Neil Adams and Rob Guillory. So yeah, those are. Let's see. Somebody else said Mignola, Corbin, Beasley, Mobius, and Allred. I do like Mike Allred a lot too. Sorry, I got like a itchy nose. Alex Toth designed the Super Friends. Exactly right. But yeah, he's. Do you think that these eyes actually look like Sam Jackson? I sort of think they do. I hope so. But what looks right to me might not look right to you, so it's all a question of how you perceive things. You, the individual. Darwin Cook. Darwin Cook's great. Barry Windsor Smith. Sure, there's a lot to like about him. It's all about the nose. Maybe. I feel like it's all about the eyes for this, but we'll see. Sorry, I'm in my own head a little bit, thinking ahead to editing and what's going on at work tomorrow, etc. I should be more focused in the moment. Happy Saturday. Yeah, not quite for me, but soon. No, James Gleason, I have not seen the adaptation of the prequel. Sorry. Brian McDonald talks about liking Jeff Lemire's work. I feel like Jeff Lemire is somebody that I need to sort of read some more of and study because I just only hear good things, and I don't think I've read very much of his work at all. So definitely need to take a look and really familiarize myself with it. Hello, Rainy Shack. Did I get those 3 big Genius Toth books? No, I didn't, Lucky 7. I don't think I know about those. I should get them. James DeRosa says, I like Windsor McKay and Paul Chadwick. Oh, that's a pretty eclectic group. I like that. I like that a lot. JoJo lists Art Adams, Kevin Maguire, Mobius, John Byrne, Neil Adams. It's going to be hard for anybody to argue with you on those counts. Those are definitely some very well respected artists. If you could live in any city in the world, like money wasn't necessarily the object, what city would you like to live in most? You could have like whatever size place you needed. As long as it actually exists. Like you can't make up, oh, I'd have a mansion in the heart of Manhattan. I mean, there's some really amazing sized houses, but I'm just saying, you'd have to say I want a penthouse or something like that. I want a 3-story brownstone on the Upper West Side. I don't know. Where would I think I'd want to live in New York City or Japan. Excuse me, that's a country. Tokyo, and maybe specifically Shibuya. I think that's where I'd want to live. Redding, California, London, Singapore, Tokyo, Astro City. Okay. London, Hooterville. These are interesting places. Although Seattle is turning into real overpriced culture void, they've torn everything down worth seeing to put up human domicile boxes for tech workers. Well, maybe. I've got to live in a place where it doesn't snow. I live in Florida now, and it's pretty great, really. Well, that's good. It's not that they waited a really long time, James. It's that, like, M. Night Shyamalan sort of derailed his career doing all sorts of other projects that didn't really take off, and he had to return to one that was a hit. That's what's going on there. It wasn't 100% just his choice to, like, I should return to that world. It's because that was, like, one of the last things that was a big hit. The Visit was a pretty big hit. Was it really? I didn't really care for it. I mean, it was a pretty cheap movie to make, so I'm not surprised that it was a hit. I didn't care for that one too much. try something here. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I'm experimenting, honestly. Is it made 95 million bucks? Wow. That is pretty big. Gantris, thank you so much for watching the channel. I appreciate you joining in. You're witnessing me experiment, and I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with this, so bear with me. Make the other side broken glass on his cheek. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. See ya, Voodoo Zombie. Thanks for dropping in. Have you heard of the Filipino comic Trees? There's an Indiegogo to have an international version published. I haven't heard of that. That sounds interesting, but I don't know anything about it. Raul Julia is talking about how C. Kim must be rolling in dough. I hope you are, because you have been very generous. I would not feel good if to learn that you're in dire straits. But yeah. I'm not going to stay long. I just wanted to say I really love the channel. I feel a lot of comic book channels are anti-SWJ and too political to watch, but none of that with this channel. Kudos. Well, I'm glad you enjoy what I'm doing, Media on Display. Thanks so much. I'll just continue to do my thing, which is focusing on comic book history and then like techniques of various creators, and yeah, I'm having a good time. All I can say is I don't watch other comic book channels. I've mentioned that before. I don't want to be influenced by what other people are doing. I have a very specific idea of what I want to accomplish with my show, and I don't want to like try to feel the need to compete with whatever's hip or hot right now. I want to just sort of do my own thing. Let's see. All Lucky 7 lists his favorite artists. Gene Colan, awesome. John Buscema, Mike Mignola, George Tuska, and Adam Hughes. Those are some fantastic, fantastic choices. Everyone loves Mignola. Yeah. I'm drawing some of it from my head and some of it from, like, you know, I definitely looked at images of Sam Jackson to try to get like his eye, and he does this thing where he'll usually open one eye and sort of like pull the other eyelid up. Sort of do that. There you go, perfect impression. Anyway, can you do a video on the craziness that is Captain Triumph? I don't think I know Captain Triumph. Anyway, let me keep switching around here. Let me think. This is very tricky to try to like sort of almost salvage what, because I'm not 100% sure where I'm going on this. I think it's going to be tough to sort of balance at this point because I just don't know how I'm having his head sort of fade out. I just don't know. Tricky. I think my favorite is Dick Briefer. I don't know who that is, guy fella. John Buscema drew the definitive Conan. I agree with that. Do you know Yusuke Murata? He has done some good Spidey art. No, I don't think I do. What markers are you using? These are called Copics. Yeah, Copic. And what's cool about them is they blend really easily. So like, yeah, I could just layer them, or I could I don't know, just throw in a colors after I've done grays. I could like always throw color on top, and it would just essentially act as shading. So yeah, they're pretty cool. A lot of flexibility with them. Yeah. Wish I could afford them. Yeah, well, I got these from my fiance. She has lots and lots of art supplies, and she basically gifted me with Copics that she wasn't using anymore, but had not been used up. So I was kind of lucky. I love them. Let's see, there's a lot to be said for the classic comic strip artists like Vern Hogarth and Alex Raymond. Definitely agree. Definitely will do episodes about them and like sort of who they directly influenced and who was in, you know, who they in turn influenced. It's a pretty amazing lineage of the people that did some fantastic comic strips in the early days on stuff like Flash Gordon, Terry and the Pirates, etc. Yeah, really strong lineage of fantastic artists. Worth remembering that there was definitely a point where the best artists didn't really work in comic books, even once comic books had debuted. They worked in comic strips because that's where the most money was. Jay Bravo, another person from Australia. Awesome shirt. Yeah. Does this stand for something like Gear Works or something like that? It does actually translate to something or other in in alien language. I forget exactly what it is now. But this is one of the pieces Marvel left me with after they digitally scanned my body so that Chris Pratt could look appropriately buff and heroic for the movies. It's the truth. It's the truth. You did the mocap. Yeah. Yeah, I did the mocap. I do it for all the Chris's. Sometimes they're like, oh, we've got Chris Pine, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, and Chris Evans, and they're each doing some superhero movies. Chris Piers, are you available? And I go, yeah, you know. Sort of flex a little. My clothes like burst into shreds. They put some dots on me. You know, that can take several days depending on how attracted to me the mocap artists are. I don't blame them. You know, that's life. And yeah, then we just sort of take it from there. And they do their magic to... boy, if you guys ever saw what Chris Hemsworth looks like without his shirt in real life, whew, it might be hard for him to keep getting work. So it's nice that I'm there to help keep these guys employed. You know, they've got families. And yeah, I just like to think that I'm a huge part of what makes their life possible. What is your favorite martial arts film? Go. I love a good martial arts movie. I would love to hear what everybody's favorites are. Shaolin Soccer. Yeah, that's not bad. The Last Dragon. Hit me with some Beyonders knowledge. Well, that's interesting, Connor, because you said Beyonders, and that's definitely a more recent concept. The original Beyonder was from 1980. Was it 1986? I think it was. It's hard to remember exactly when, but I think 1986 was when the first Secret Wars came out, and then like just a few years ago, Jonathan Hickman sort of built on that and said like, no, the Beyonders are actually an entire race, not just one individual, and they're sort of like gods above gods that were slowly like destroying each of the universe in the multiverse to sort of gain power. But you know what? As I start saying this, it's I realize it's been a few years since I've read the Jonathan Hickman's Avengers runs, and I'm sort of forgetting the details. Charlie's Angels 1 and 2 and Romeo Must Die. There are a lot of better martial arts movies. Iron Monkey is good. Yep. Mr. Vampire. Okay. Rumble in the Bronx. Hello, Goku. The Raid definitely counts. Sweet Lime Juice. The Raid in the Raid 2 are fantastic. Yeah, I'd say that the Matrix does count as martial arts. It has martial arts in it. Have you read the original Secret Wars recently? Shooter's writing did not age well. I'd sort of agree with at least the dialogue. I think that the overall concept, though, is a lot of fun and mostly holds up. The plot holds up, and I think that the characters still more or less stay true to who they are, but that like a lot of the dialogue and some of the subplots are pretty hokey and pretty dated at this point. Can someone tell me what is happening? And that's what you do to make a perfect drawing that will absolutely get picked up anytime you pitch it to any publisher. You just push it together. Now you guys know the secret. I hope that that helped. I didn't think I'd give away such big inside trade secrets that I've learned from some of my professional friends like Jason Latour and Robert Kirkman. But you know what? You guys are great. You deserve to know that inside info. It's like I say, you just push it together, you know? So anyway, now you've got a pretty good idea of where we're going. And anyway, I think that I'm basically done tonight. I'm done. Wow, actually, we're coming up right on an hour, even though I didn't quite do as much. I was trying to experiment and maybe like do like a half dark, half white, but then I just sort of lost, exactly what I was going to be doing. I feel like, it needs to be balanced a lot better. And the thing is, you have to plan that out. You have to plan that out. And I didn't. I was just trying to wing it and just sort of see what would come together. Honestly, that's not how it's going to work. It fell apart a little there. All I can say is I didn't have a lot of time to plan, so I just thought I'd wing it and experiment, and maybe I'd find a couple elements that work. And I did find a couple elements that work in terms of like what I was doing with the rain here. I think I could have made that work. I think I shouldn't have spotted this huge black area in retrospect, but whatever, I think that like if I had a lot more time and I could have planned this out, given more facial details, and find the deep shadows that actually exist, and let it all blend outwards. Let it all blend outwards. Like find a place where it all can evenly just go out there. So, too bad, but not the worst. I definitely, personally, I like the eyes. I don't know. I feel like, ignore some of the the black and stuff. That sort of looks like Sam Jackson to me. And I like, this is such a silly detail, but like in the poncho, I just like how it angles out here and like comes back in. I don't know, I just like that. Anyway, nothing too exciting. Not perfect, not my best. Tried something, didn't work out. I learned from it, move on. I'd approach it differently next time. Drain. Oh yeah, that's an interesting concept. Somebody mentioned parasite could work as drain, because you'd be draining somebody's energy. Yeah, you know what? Like any sort of vampire character is an interesting idea. I was honestly giving a little bit of thought to like just now a literal bathtub drain with like Ant-Man, but yeah, a drain with Pennywise. That I mean that's kind of interesting. Drain, you could do rogue. Yeah, rogue drains people's powers. There's definitely a few ideas. There's some underrated vampire media out there that like not as many people know about. I think that could be a way to go. Psycho, the drain there. Brain drain could be fun. Super Mario jumps through drains all the time. Hydro Man going down a drain. Yeah, I'll just take a picture of my bathtub drain and just be like, I've spent hours drawing Hydro Man and I nailed it. But anyway, Morbius, yeah, possibly. J. Andrew World is fronting a band. TMNT. Well, you know what? These are all amazing ideas, but I do love the Ninja Turtles. Like they're just something I discovered in like the mid '80s before they were a cartoon, and I've held on to like just the idea of TMNT. So I kind of like that, the idea of like going down a drain and finding like at least one of the Ninja Turtles. So let me give that some more thought. You know, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do vampire. Maybe I'll do a literal drain or a draining character like Rogue or Parasite. Those were all really cool suggestions. Looks like I've got plenty of ideas. Look at this late stream. What are we talking about? We're talking about me taking off, I'm afraid, Maxine. Yeah. I was experimenting, came up with something. It's okay, whatevs. Tomorrow I should definitely be able to be on earlier. The new episode will be up by then. So, you know, hopefully I see some of you tomorrow. Probably likely to go on around 8 p.m. Pacific. So that's a little more than 2 hours earlier than this. So anyway, Billy Corgan. Yeah, there you go. But I'm going to take off, folks. I'm going to end the stream. I've had a good time chatting with y'all. I had a good time playing around. Time to finish editing the new comic tropes. Look for that in several hours. Bye.